Let's go, bro. Let's go.
That's good, bro. You ready?
5 reps. Let's go. Let's go. Sick. Thanks, brother. Thank you, brother.
Good stuff.
Good. One and done. That's what I like about these top set situations. So top set, back down set. It's stressful to lift heavy. So that's why I've changed the format of my videos. So I don't do much talking during my warm-ups to my top set because it's damn stressful. And now that that's done, I can just relax. The goal was 5. It was hard, for sure. I wanted to do a set of 5 and make it look like there was a rep in reserve. I don't know if there was a rep in reserve on that one. That last rep felt pretty damn tough. Gun to my head, maybe I would have. Just as well, there's no guns in anyone's heads when we train, but that's good. Last week I did 240 for 6. This week, 250 for 5. And then the goal is 260 for 4 next week. Now, bit of a debrief on that set. Definitely felt tension on my leg where I tore it. Probably close to 3 months ago now. It held, of course, but it's still on my mind. If Alex wasn't behind me, you know, maybe I would have put that bar down. So it's helpful to have someone stronger than you telling you you can do it. You know what I mean? So I was having this discussion about motivation and being psyched up, you know, pre-lift arousal or training arousal versus competition arousal. And there's a bit of a discussion on mindset with training versus mindset with competition. And if you should be training in that psyched up state or a highly aroused state every time you train. Of course, there's no black and white answer, but I know that some people like to have their training sessions where they don't psych themselves up, because I'll tell you right now, it's really fatiguing. So psyching yourself up to that point is very helpful. So for me to do that set, I'm not sure what you can see from the camera, but I need to be really, really focused, because if not, that weight will just feel like it's a ton on my back and I probably wouldn't have performed like that. So I really, really need to step up. But a lot of people have this thought process, which I quite like, where they have non-psyched up sessions where they kind of lift heavy, but not to the point where they're in the same level of focus what I was doing. So what happens there is you're not able to lift as heavy, but the upside for that is you recover a lot quicker because you're not pushing your nervous system to those heights. So for this, when I'm doing these big sessions, I do need to factor in recovery. So not just within the session, but also within the week. Monday, I'm going to be deadlifting. This is Friday. Tomorrow, I've got to do bench press. So those are the negatives for coming in and really pushing it on those sessions, is the accumulated fatigue throughout the week, as well as through the session. But either way, so what was my state of arousal just then? It was pretty high. And the motivation was also high. I turned the music up. So I've been doing a lot of videos where I do no music, and I consider that like a bit of a low motivating, low arousal kind of session. This one, it's like, nah, I didn't want to risk anything. So, I did everything right. I had the music on. I had Alex, just so that you know, Alex, if you don't know who that is, Alex Godley Strong Simon. In his second ever competition in powerlifting, he became the all-time world record holder, Australian record holder in powerlifting in Australia. So he totaled 1082.5. Alex, what was your total? 1077.5. Yeah, 1077.5 in his second ever competition. And he did more than that in training. So he squatted 435, deadlifted 382. Is that right? 382? And bench pressed 260. Since then, he's bench pressed 280 in training. He's also deadlifted 400. So, the numbers that you pull up on comp day can be different to what you do in training. But anyway, when someone that strong's behind you and they're saying, keep going, you kind of get motivated to keep on going. So that was very, very helpful. Anyway, so right now, it's time for some back down work.
Did you coach Alex for the competition?
Yeah, I coached Alex for the competition. Alex has been on our team for over a decade, I would say. Yeah, that's right, because I met him when he was 18 and he's now 31. So we've been on the same team for over a decade. End of 2014. There you go. So it's 11 years, coming up to 11 years. So yeah, fair bit of history. It's always good to have the right people around when you're doing things like this, which I'm very fortunate to have. So now I'm going to be doing back down sets. Now here's the thing, my programs have been chopping and changing a lot based on how they make me feel. I write them out and it's like, all right, it looks good in theory, it looks good on paper, but then when I put it in practice, it's like, it's not working. So last week I did sumo deadlifts and I'm supposed to be doing my paused high bar squats after my deadlift day. So I've been separating it and it didn't work. So it just felt terrible after that, after my sumo deadlift day. So I did leg press instead. So now my consideration is to do those squats. That's probably my favorite squat pattern for muscle building and also for strength building. So that's not the best strength building squat pattern. Strange thought, but it's the technique that allows you to shift the heaviest loads, but it's not the biggest strength builder. I think high bar squats are superior for building strength and building muscle, even though they don't allow you to lift as heavy. And then the stiletto squat is kind of a version down from a high bar squat. And the reason I'm choosing that over the high bar squat is because a high bar squat, I could lift heavier weight. Therefore, it's a little bit more fatiguing. And I've already done the heavy weight thing, the heavy fatigue thing. So now what I want to do is complement it with a variation that puts me in a position where I just can't lift as heavy. That's what my back down work is going to be. So, yep, only one set of low bar. Here's another consideration. Low bar squats are extremely demanding on your shoulders and your arms and your elbows. Some people get, I call it penis elbow. So I say it hurts your arms so much that you feel it in your penis, even if you don't have a penis. It doesn't discriminate. So people say, how do I get rid of that? And for me, it's not just a mobility thing. I've seen people with incredible shoulder mobility and they come in their low bar squat and they get excruciating arm pain the next day. So it's not a mobility thing. I think it's a technical thing as well as a conditioning thing. So when I say technical, the more you hold the weight on your arms, the more you're going to feel it on your arms. So what do I mean by that? The technique that I have with a low bar squat is to position the barbell on my rear deltoids. And I grab the bar and I pull my elbows back and down. That movement, the action of pulling the elbows back, squeeze the shoulder blades together, which increases the muscular activation around your upper back, the thoracic spine, and stops your upper back from rounding forward. But it also makes your big rear deltoids pop out, which is the shelf for that barbell to sit on. So if it's resting on the rear delts and not the arms, it's taking strain off the arms, right? So if you're not resting it on your rear delts, some people go a little bit lower than that. In those instances, you're resting a lot of that weight on your arms, right? So you get a lot of arm pain. So for me, one, it's resting it on the right position, which is on top of the rear delts and not on your arms. Two, conditioning. So getting used to that. I've been squatting with the low bar for many, many years, and I'll tell you right now, I used to get excruciating pain in the elbows. Some of you may know exactly what I'm talking about. A lot of you will. Some of you may not. When I first started doing low bar squats, after a few weeks or a few months, I started getting a lot of the arm pain during bench press, and I used to blame the bench press. for the pain that I was getting in my upper arms. It was like, oh, bench press is just killing me. So I'd keep squatting heavy and then I'd back off on my bench press day saying, this bench press is no good, it's hurting me. And it took me a while to realize that it was actually the squats. Pain exactly on the arms, for me, it's the brachialis. So the brachialis, so there's the bicep. The bicep is the muscle that everyone flexes. It's the muscle that sits directly underneath the bicep is the brachialis. So when a lot of people say, oh, my elbows are sore, my biceps or whatever it is, I come in and I push with my thumb, not overly aggressive. You don't have to. I'm not trying to be a dick. I just press into it just to demonstrate to them that that's where the trigger point is. And a lot of the times that's where they jump. That is the brachialis. Now here's the next interesting concept. There's a few lifters that I know that have broken their upper arm bones, their humerus. One person, I don't know him personally, but he did a bench press and snapped it during the bench press. Now, digging up a little bit of history on that event, where he was doing spotto presses and it just went snap. And there was a bit of a history that that fellow had pre-existing stress fractures in his humerus. If I could put my money on anything, it would be that the squats caused the stress fractures. The next person is a fellow by the name of Sir Dave. He's one of the best deadlifters, one of the best powerlifters on the planet. And he currently is recovering from a broken humerus, which I believe happened during a bench press. But then he got it pinned, he got nails put in it, whatever it is, screws put in it. And during his recovery, he came to a heavy low bar squat and just holding the bar just went snap and his upper arm broke again. And in my opinion, it's not the bench press that causes that pain. It's the low bar squats and holding it in the wrong position. So what is the right position? It's on top of your rear delts and pull the elbows back. Now, a lot of people might say, don't pull the elbows back, that causes you to tip forward. It's elbows down is the cue. You are right and you're also wrong. It's elbows back and down. The elbows back component is upper back rigidity. So that's mid-back muscles activating around your thoracic spine and stopping it from folding forward. So if you round in your upper back when you squat, try pulling your elbows back. And then the next component is elbows down. The elbows down component is how we activate our lats. The lats attach at the front of the arm here and they come underneath and they attach to the top of your pelvis. They cross the longest distance of your spine of all of our core muscles. Yes, that's right, the lats are a core muscle, as well as your abs and obliques and all the rectus spinae. Lats, in my opinion, are the strongest supporter of your spine. So if you fear that you're folding forward during your squat, drive those elbows down. That's lats, but they both go hand in hand. Elbows back for mid-back and activating rear delts to position the barbell on that shelf, and then elbows down for lats, and that's the ultimate upper back or entire back rigidity strategy that you should be doing straight away. Anyway, right now, I'm sure I'm cooling down, but that's fine. I'm gonna re-warm up again and I'm gonna do my favorite stiletto squats. Yes, so that was a low bar squat. That's my strongest squat position, is a low bar squat. And the idea of a stiletto squat is to target the quadriceps. Now, the best way to position your body, so that low bar squat, yeah, I used my quads, but it wasn't a fantastic quad builder because I used more of my hips. So whenever you see someone's torso tip forward, it's not a bad thing, it just means you're using your strong hips. Whenever you see someone's knees coming forward and the torso is upright, that's an indicator that the muscles that you're prioritizing are the quadriceps. So I'm using this exercise to prioritize my quadriceps. So therefore, I'm gonna position my body in the best way to do that, and that is high bar. So whenever you see me do a stiletto squat, of course, there's exceptions to every rule, but in general, you could safely say that the idea of it is to hit quads. When you want to hit quads and you're wondering what position to place the barbell, high bar squat. Now, there's a caveat to this because not everybody has the mobility and body structure to effectively squat with a high bar position. What do I mean by that? I guess you could say in general, people with, Jesus, almost lost a foot. People that have, you hear people say long femur, so there's more to it than just long femur, but the upper thigh bone is usually not the best suited for a squat. So if you look in the Olympics, most Olympic high-level athletes have short femurs, and that allows them to position their bodies with a more upright torso, and those people typically build more quadriceps when they squat. The longer the femur, the more the torso needs to tip forward. Now combine that with a short torso, right? You got to tip forward even further, and then combine that with poor ankle mobility, right? So some people have all of that. And if that's you, then I would say that the high bar squat is probably going to be one of those squat patterns that you're just never ever going to like. And if there was a squat pattern that you would like, it would be a low bar variation. To put a blanket statement and say, if you want more quads, you have to do high bar. Yeah, but some of you may not have the orthopedic profile to position yourself to squat with a high bar and get yourself in the right position, which is more upright, more knee bend, more quad dominant. And if that's the case, what's my intervention for you? See this heel elevation? That's the intervention. So that's going to allow you to maximize knee bend, maintain more upright torso, and position yourself in a way to hit your quads a little bit better. So I'm gonna re-warm up again. A little bit cold from all that talking, but it's okay. I quite like that. I like a little bit of an interlude in my session. And what I'm gonna do now is re-warm up. So the last time I did this, it was 160 kilograms for 2 sets of 6. So I guess logically I'd go a little bit heavier than that. Not sure what. This isn't like max testing or anything like that. This is just to complement my main work. So it's a variation of one of my favorite programming styles, which is top set, back down set method. Now, the beauty of a top set, back down set method is exactly what I've discussed, which is where it's a great way of managing fatigue. So what do I mean by that? When you got to do multiple top sets of that super heavy weight, damn, it's fatiguing. Nice and easy. Nice and easy. So the last thing I want to do after I did a really heavy set of squats is more really heavy stuff. Do you know what I'm saying? So you got a few options. One, I used to write programs where it was kind of like, you know, 3 to 5 sets of 5. And the first set was just like, oh man, that was so hard. How am I going to get the rest of this out? And as I got stronger and stronger and was lifting heavier and heavier weights, that became more and more fatiguing and less practical. So now something that I've observed with my high-level athletes is the stronger you are, the less total volume you should be performing. So a lot of the times whenever I'm doing heavy squats or deadlifts and even bench press with my super strong athletes, 1 to 2 top sets, and then lots of back down work. So what's the point of doing all of that? So the point of doing that is if all you do is just 1 or 2 top sets, it's not really enough volume. Like you still need some amount of volume to continue to adapt with things like muscle hypertrophy, which is building muscle, which contributes to strength, right? So you get to a point where you understand the technique, your movement efficiency is just so great. It's like you can't lift heavier weights by continuing to improve technique. Your technique's good enough. So where do you improve? Well, you get to the point where the best way to improve is to continue to build more muscle, right? So this is why with my strength building, I'm always factoring in muscle building for long-term progression. So therefore, top set, back down set. The top set is in aid of keeping the body conditioned and keeping on refining your skill of lifting heavy weights because strength is a skill. But then the back down work is in aid of accumulating more volume, but not so much that it's fatiguing and so fatiguing that it's interfering with your strength progression. So it's a bit of a sweet spot, which is why my top set, back down set protocols are top set, RPE. So you saw that was RPE 9.5 or whatever. That was a high RPE. I don't want to do set after set of that high RPE. So I would say top set, 8 to 10 RPE. Back down set, 6 to 8 RPE. So today, oh man, after all that, I don't even want to work to an 8 RPE. But, you know, getting a little bit more volume in is absolutely wise. All right, next set. So this isn't a set, this is warming up. This is a feel set. I think my top set's going to be 170 for 6. High bar. So this is upper traps for high bar. So that was 120. Yeah, I think 170 is a reasonable top set today. I'm going to do one more warm-up set. So I'll chuck on an extra 25 kilograms, which will make it 145. And then we'll do the first work set. So I'll just do a single rep. You know, now I can talk. Do you know what I'm saying? So this is the whole idea of like, you know, highly aroused session. So I'm not highly aroused anymore. I don't need to be. This is back down work. This is a nice way to train. This is more enjoyable. The first set was not that enjoyable. It's enjoyable when it's done. It's like, whew, got it. That's my joy in training. It's not actually, you know, the anxiety before the session and everything that you saw. It's once I've done it, looking back going, yes, I did that. It's like now, all week, I'm going to be thinking about next week's top set, which is 260 kilograms for 4 reps, right? So now I got to think about how am I going to eat well, sleep well, do all of the right things to put myself in a position where 260 for 4, like I'm able to progress to 260 for 4, because it's not always a linear progression. So just because I did last week 240 for 6, this week 250 for 5, like you set yourself up in a way to logically be able to hit those numbers, but you cannot predict your levels of energy. You're off, Alexander. Thank you very much, my brother, for being here. No interruption at all. Thank you, bro.
Are you here tomorrow?
I will be. Adam Bishop's coming, one of the best world strongmen. Yeah. Okay, a little bit fatigued. Let me tell you, I'm just going to do one more set of that, and then hamstring curls, and that's me for the session. Yeah, you know, here's the rules of what makes an exercise a good choice to build muscle. Number one, the muscle that you're targeting needs to be the limiting factor of the movement, or in other words, needs to be the first muscle that fails and the reason why you can't do any more reps. So when I do that exercise, it's pretty much, you can really feel that the quads are the reason why that's getting harder. So I'm really pushing with my quads. Whereas when I did my low bar squat, I don't know which muscle was contributing to those last few reps being much more difficult. So it's like, if I failed any more reps, which muscle was it that failed first? I don't know. Maybe my sole. I don't know if that's a muscle. I don't even know if I have a sole. Maybe not. But with that exercise, I could tell that my quadriceps was the biggest contributor to that weight coming up. Of course, you need to have a lot of upper body strength, core strength to stabilize a heavy weight, which is why a lot of bodybuilders will favor things like machines, like a hack squat, leg press, over free weight exercises like barbells, because when you're holding barbells, you need a lot of your neural energy on holding the barbell on your spine. It's high axial load, highly fatiguing. But what's the difference with building muscle for a powerlifter or a strength athlete versus building muscle for a bodybuilder? Building muscle for a strength athlete or a powerlifter needs to have carryover to the end goal, which is to be able to squat. So a high bar stiletto squat builds quads. It's a really great choice of exercise for quadriceps that has a great carryover to your squat strength, because you still have to stabilize the barbell and balance in space. Whereas machine, I don't want to say it has no carryover to your ability to squat heavy weight. If you do leg press as a powerlifter, you're doing the right thing. But objectively, leg press or hack squat probably has the edge on building muscle. Stiletto squat has the edge on building muscle specific to powerlifters who want to build their squat as well, which is me. I'm a powerlifter. I want to build my squat, even though I don't powerlift anymore, even though I don't compete anymore. You know, it is absolutely a skill component, and in coordinating your body and core to handle the axial load or the spine load or the vertical load. So there's none of that. I don't need to have a strong core to do a leg press or a hack squat. You don't need heavy weights. I can breathe through that. In fact, I do breathe through my leg press. I do not breathe during a repetition of a squat because I'm bracing so hard. What I'm going to do is one more set, and then that's all, and then hamstring curls, nothing exciting. But for you guys, I hope you enjoyed that session. Click like, subscribe, all those things. Keep turning up, please, and thank you. And I'll keep on educating you. If there's anything particular that you want to see, just let me know in the comment section, and I'll do my best to educate you. Only on things that I know about, because of course I don't know everything. I know a lot about lifting weights. I know a lot about what got me to where I am, as well as strengthening the athletes that I've strengthened. And if you want answers on those things, then I'm all yours. So put it in the comment section below. Hope you enjoyed the session. Thank you for being here.